Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Align Life, Brain-Based Health Solutions, Chiro HD, Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, German College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, the IFCO, and 100% Chiropractic. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 567 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your hosts, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Skylar Gemmer. And if you want to hear about a subluxation-focused chiropractic college in Washington State, stay tuned. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. It is episode, let's get it right, 567. I have Dr. Skylar Gemmer on with me, and there's just a lot that I believe that we're going to be able to accomplish on today's interview. I think there's going to be a lot to discuss. I know there's some chiropractors in your family. You're not the only one. You're second generation, but there's more following you. I know that there's a school coming in Washington State that's going to be a subluxation-focused chiropractic school, boutique school, graduating chiropractors, like real deal chiropractors. We're going to discuss a little bit about the International Federation of Chiropractic Organizations, which I think is really cool. And then you do some, and you're involved with adults. And that's something that we'll talk about also. And we're going to talk about your story and things that make you the chiropractor you are today. But before we get into that, I want to let everyone know our big why. Why do we do what we do over here at Chiro Hustle? Well, first things first is freedom of speech. I believe lending a platform for people to talk about things that matter and not censoring them is very important. So we believe in protecting the ability for people to at least talk about things that matter to them, whether it's popular to mainstream media or mainstream social media or not. We do that. And I believe a lot of that's because I've been shadow banned or I've been censored, and I'd never want to have a platform that did that to someone else. And I know how valuable the chiropractic conversation is, so that's why we host chiropractors to talk about things that they love and things that are important to society. So we also believe in medical freedom, family health freedom. I think that those things are necessary for us to discuss too. Medical freedom, people just have to be informed. And I think chiropractors are now standing in the gap and offering a solution for people that want family health freedom and medical freedom, and they want to choose chiropractic. They just sometimes don't know it's called chiropractic. So hopefully these messages that we create with Chiro Hustle get out there and inspire more people to understand what chiropractic does and how it can help them with their families. And then we'll get a bit more philosophical, and then we'll jump into Dr. Skylar's story. We do protect the sacred trust. We believe it's very important. It's not just a historical thing in chiropractic, but it's the future of chiropractic. And we do have to protect the sacred trust. If you don't know what that is, go research and find what B.J. Palmer's last words were, and then search for sacred trust. And you'll know more about chiropractic than you previously did, I guarantee you. And then we believe as the school out there in Washington is going to be a subluxation-focused chiropractic school, we do believe in subluxation-based chiropractic, so it's a very nice alliance with what we have going on here. And we believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence. We believe that when man or woman, the physical gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual, and that's chiropractic. So, Dr. Skylar, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jim. Good to see you, brother.
Yeah, we've been seeing each other around the seminar circuit for quite some time now, so it's just about time that you made it to the show.
It is about that time. We're overdue, I think. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, it's always fun to catch up with you and talk to you about chiropractic because you understand the profession really well, and you want to see betterment for the profession. And I think that that's really what is going to make this episode so powerful, is talking about things that we both love.
Amen. Yeah, we do love the same stuff.
Yeah, so big chiropractic family, as I mentioned, but how did you decide that that was the right career choice for you and that's what you wanted to do? Because I know your dad's a chiropractor too, and sometimes you're like, gosh, do I go do what dad did or do I go do my own thing?
Yeah, so I don't think I really had any clue how good I had it coming up in a chiropractic household, and how I just kind of was like, oh, I guess those people have to take that stuff, whatever. And then I kind of go about my life. And what happened was I ended up going to community college for no apparent reason, like a lot of young people do, just kind of wandering off there to junior college. And I called it the 13th and 14th grade. And I really didn't know what the heck I was going to do with myself. And my dad luckily dragged me down to a seminar. At that time, it was Body by God, but now Maximize Living. So Ben Lerner and his gang. And that's where I learned that study from JAMA, where, people, they get the right diagnosis, they get the right disease, the right drug and the right dose, and people take it exactly how they're supposed to. That kills about 300 people a day in the US. And that was 25 years ago, so I have no idea where we're at today with that. So it kind of occurred to me that I would be saving people's lives. We're never going to know who those people really are, but that's what lit me up and lit a fire under me to stop dorking around junior college and take some direction and think, I'm in this profession, I'll help save some people.
So where did you decide that was the right place for you to go to chiropractic school? Because I didn't ask you that, and it's not in your bio.
Oh yeah, so I went to Life West. I actually saw Guy Reekman, I think, had just gotten to Life University, and him and Jerry Plum at the time were on a kind of a road show together promoting their respective schools. And I just really loved Jerry Plum. I got a really good vibe from him. I don't know if you've ever heard his story where he's going blind and the optometrist is like smoking a cigarette in his face. He's like, I wouldn't take my dog to a chiropractor. And then he ends up, not going blind because he starts getting adjusted. So, like, I'm following this guy around, I think. So that's how I ended up at Life West in that Macy's warehouse.
So that's just it, man. There's a power in the story.
Yeah.
And what that guy's story did for you sparked you to become enthusiastic about becoming a chiropractor.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know that there's a lot that goes into building identity for this profession, and it is I believe led by a lot of charismatic leadership, and that people do have to have the Sid Williamses, and they have to have the BJ Palmers, and they have to have the Reggie Golds of the world, and they have to have these charismatic characters that are involved in the messaging of chiropractic, so it just perpetuates greatness. And I think that there is a lot of charisma in chiropractic, and that's why I love interviewing chiropractors and telling their stories, because who knows, there's the old BJ Palmer quote, like, who knows how far reaching something we may do or say today may have the impact on 1 million of lives tomorrow. And I think that's nothing truer than talking about chiropractic, is who knows who's going to come across this. And I was telling Dr. Alan Palmer this earlier, is the reason that we do it this way is because we created a depository of reality for what chiropractic is, and we document the profession so deep that no one can go in and rewrite it, or they can't go in and say it's not that anymore, or it's going to be this. Like, we have such a detailed historical depository of interviews and like the truth of chiropractic, that no matter what, somebody couldn't go in and change it, because we have a historical background of what this profession is.
Love
and that. I think that that's also really cool, talking about you creating a new school.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about this Washington Chiropractic College.
Yeah, so that's kind of was the brain trust of initially a guy named Randy Bays here in Western Washington. He's been running this thing called the Philosophy Forum, which is a monthly meetup for chiropractors to talk about the principle and get together and have some food and get a couple CE credits. But he's been doing that every month for like 35 years. And he was talking to Phil McMaster, who was one of the guys that started the New Zealand school, and he was only like 6 years out of school when he started that project, actually. So he's kind of part of the foundation of that. And they started talking about this kind of boutique model because a lot of, most schools, when I started at Life West, I think I started with 70 something students in my class, and my wife started, I think, in the smallest class in history there with like 8, and she was just 2 quarters behind me. So all that differentiation is really kind of hard to plan for and maintain usually. So they just have 1 class per year, 75 students. They actually get more applications than they accept, which is a little unusual in chiropractic education. So they really have their application process dialed in to where they have a pretty good idea who the people they're accepting going in are going to come out the other side great chiropractors. So we're trying to model off of that, but we really need more subluxation centered schools. We need more chiropractors. We're finding out now that there are some students coming out now after all the kind of changes in education around COVID. We're finding some that have never even had to adjust. They just need to clock in and out of clinic now, and they haven't put their hands on anyone, and we have to treat, start from ground zero on technique practically. So that will absolutely not be a thing at the Washington Chiropractic College. We are training the next generation of subluxation finders and slayers. So they will know where they are. They will know how to help introduce a force to correct that. And then I think they'll be some of the best educators out there too, as far as just communicating the principle to people.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's really important what you're doing. I think that people do need to have a safe place to go and learn real chiropractic, and they need to learn how to apply it. And I think that that's a big thing when it comes to chiropractic is how do I learn it? How do I apply it? And that's like the fundamentals of being a chiropractor. And like you're saying, people aren't coming out with that. I mean, I think that we just need to put together a $99 technique seminar and basically give it away for free and just show up to every major city in the United States and say, hey guys, I know you're probably a chiropractor, you've been doing it for X amount of time, but we're putting on a free seminar for $99, whatever. Come learn how to adjust. And
let's put that together, man. I'm all about it. I was adjusting a chiropractor. I actually adjusted quite a few chiropractors, and so it's like I was telling him if I did a technique seminar, it'd be like, here is the posterior arch, and here, the back of the sacrum is only maybe 2 inches. If you're a little bit off the side too far, you're on this other bone. So it's like,
bring your X-rays on your phone.
Do it. Yeah. we'll tour, bro.
I think it's important though because it builds awareness.
Absolutely.
And I think that a lot of times if a chiropractor is not good with their hands, they're just the ego is too big for them to ask for help, and they'll start doing other things. Yeah. They'll start adding more different things into a practice that people might not. They might think it's chiropractic, but it's not.
Yeah, those are the same ones that think, we couldn't have possibly seen this case get better, this person recover from this problem, or they just haven't seen it because they don't know what it is and they don't know how to deliver it. And
But the school's coming. So when is the projections for school in Washington State coming?
So the very best case would be about a year from right now. So we're working on accreditation. We're working on, what's the shortest good path. Yeah, we got to do it the way we need to do it, and not bend too much. But it's like when it comes to principle, you got to really stand your ground. But if it's just a fashion thing, we're okay bending a little bit. I think that's paraphrasing that.
Yeah, but I think we just have to get out there and start creating more opportunities for people to get real deal chiropractic educations. Yes. Talk to people a little bit about how you see the system being built and what the hopes of the future would be with the first school.
So like we were chatting a little bit earlier, I know I've had a few people come through my office that they really wanted to become chiropractors, but then they found out they had to leave the state and they kind of ran out of gas and it was hard for me to leave my family at 20 and move to California. So I know we lose a few people there. I think if we could get this boutique school going and sustainable, if we could use that as a model for other states, so that maybe every state has at least one small school that people can get their local bright-eyed, bushy-tailed students that might get lost in another modality, another profession that they think is kind of samesies or chiropractic adjacent, so they'll be able to do kind of the same thing. It's not going to be the same thing, so we got to keep it the same thing, right? And that's something we're also trying to fight, and that's part of every organization I give time to is the subluxation and keeping that what the main thing, right?
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Align Life, Brain-Based Health Solutions, Chiro HD, Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, German College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, the IFCO, and 100% Chiropractic. Let's hustle.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what's anchored me with Life West. That's what's got me to build a sponsorship with them for Chiro Hustle. It's what's anchored me with Sherman. It's what's built me to create a sponsorship with Chiro Hustle with Sherman, because I see that there's schools out there that are actually doing the right thing to protect the sacred trust, like we stand for, and what we talk about doing. And it's important for us to work with organizations like the next thing we're going to talk about is the IFCO, the International Federation of Chiropractic Organizations. And I know you are working with that organization too. Why is that organization so important also, not only for the principled schools, teaching real chiropractic, teaching how to adjust, but let's talk about the IFCO.
Yeah, so a lot of places in the school don't have, or the world, I'm sorry, pivoting from schools. A lot of places in the world just don't have as good of an anchor as even we do here in the U.S. in our philosophy. And so I think we need more and more schools, we need more laws written that are pro chiropractic and focused on the subluxation and not moving into more physical therapy type modalities, because there's already physical therapists everywhere in the world. We don't need to do more of that, I don't think. So IFCO is really about trying to make sure that every man, woman, child, and animal on the planet, if they, people want to bring their pets in, that they have access to chiropractic, so and subluxation centered care. So there's a lot of organizations that might have some of that focus, and then they do some other things, and they do sometimes a lot of other things, or sometimes they don't have that focus at all, and they're running us in a totally different direction. So that's IFCO's only focus, is to make sure if you want to practice subluxation centered care wherever you are, that you can. So we fought hard, and unfortunately a bunch of different groups lost that battle in DC over x-rays, so we'll still be plugging away at that. We're focused really heavily on Latin America right now, and hoping to have something of an influence on their they start writing laws down there. So we've got a lot of good people that actually have some experience with that.
So I know I didn't prepare you for this conversation, but as far as you said, BC and x-rays, that's British Columbia x-rays. Yeah. So has it been removed from their ability to do x-rays in British Columbia?
Yes. And you can't adjust children under 12 in Australia. And there's some funky, what I would consider just atrocities going on out there that we really need to stay on top of. And that's, I think, if you're not an IFCO member, that's the kind of stuff we're trying to fight against. And not everyone has the time to show up at meetings and go to these things, or go to other countries like Grant does. And a bunch of us are going to Mexico City in April for Scott Garber's Garberfest to Berkshires in Mexico, so that should be great. But if subluxation, practicing subluxation centered chiropractic is important to you, I really think you should join the IFCO. Your students, we make it super duper easy. It's my initials, and then 2023 I think is the discount code. It's like $1 for your whole student career there. And if that doesn't work, just reach out to me. I'll get you a better code. I think that's.
But I mean, it's just chiropractically responsible for us to talk about these things, because I know a lot of people don't know about IFCO.
Yeah.
They've only heard about the other two groups that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's a lot of good historical resonance with both those groups, but I'm not so sure that they're doing the right thing for subluxation centered chiropractic. So that's one of the most important things that we can do, is to preserve the foundation of what makes chiropractic real chiropractic.
Mm-hmm.
And if you start removing that, then you're not producing a message that's consistent with real chiropractic. And somebody might take me to task, what is real chiropractic? Well, it's subluxation based chiropractic. It's talking about things that are in philosophy, innate intelligence, universal intelligence, and allowing people to have medical and family health freedom to be able to choose what they do for their bodies. So I believe that that's a huge agenda for the IFCO, and it runs right parallel with what we want. So I think that the more that people knew about what the IFCO is doing and became members, it's only better for the future of this profession.
Absolutely. Yeah, we gotta support those that are supporting us.
And I know that you are an active leader within the Delts. I know you guys do a lot to preserve the green books. I know that you guys do a lot to preserve philosophy, and you guys have great thriving chapters all around the world.
Yeah.
What is your position? I'm
the current president, actually, right this second, of the Grand Council, is the alumni oversight group, but and kind of monitor that chapter activity, make sure they don't go back to Animal House days. But really, we've got a really good professional group of young men, and our whole focus is developing the next generation of chiropractors and keeping us scientific and subluxation centered, promoting ethics and getting students and practitioners together. So we have kind of 3 big events all year, and one of them is called the Bro Olympics. So that's our student centered, our Brotherhood Olympics, so chiropractic Olympics. They actually compete on things like the 33 principles and speed drills. So they'll toggle an egg until one of them cracks it, and then they get rotated out, and there's different things like that. So it's a lot of fun, a lot of bonding, and just kind of sharpening steel on that one. And then we have another event where it's kind of more of a retreat to become better, just human beings, work on journaling, meditation, work on our habits, work on our fitness and what we put in our body and things like that. So that's a lot of lead up, and then a long weekend for that one. And then we also have our annual meeting in Davenport, which we used to have concordantly with Palmer's homecoming. We decided to stop pulling some of their crowd, so we have it now usually the last weekend in August, or this time the second to last weekend to avoid Labor Day. So, yeah.
Well, cool. I think that the more that people know about what the Delts are doing, also, it's a historical group within chiropractic, and protecting the sacred trust. Once again, I feel like a broken record over here, and producing the future leaders of this profession. I think that that's another thing, is it resonates with preserving the identity. I was just at the Colorado Chiropractic Association doing interviews, and I was talking to a couple people in leadership there, and I was like, what is the identity? Why should people give you their money? Why should people become members? And, I think that that's a really honest thing to ask people when it comes to an organization that people want people to pay dues to, and they want people to be involved with, is like, what's in it for them?
Right.
And I think that a lot of times I do advocate for people to support their state associations. And I do advocate for people to become members of those organizations. I advocate for people to support the IFCO. I advocate for people to join their local chamber of commerce.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the more people are professionally connected within the profession that they're a part of, the greater the outcome for the profession, because you're actually connected to making decisions on if something's not going the right way, what can we do to correct it? Or, hey, let's make it better doing this. But I think that you have to be involved with like your local community. I think you have to be involved with like you're involved with like international communities. But you're also wanting to help, upstart a chiropractic school that stands for something that is a foundation for the future of the profession. So even though that there might be, like you said, some atrocities, whether it's happened in British Columbia or Australia, like we can go and course correct, and we can go and win these battlegrounds back. So I think that people should become members of the IFCO, so you can participate in something that wants to go and keep winning and moving forward and start taking things back and reforming some of these things that aren't the way that we want them to be.
Yep. Amen. Yeah. I see you're finding the theme in my activities, James.
Yeah. I mean, you have to start being involved. Otherwise you say it's not working.
Yeah.
Well, it's not working because people aren't giving their time. They're not giving their talent, and they're not giving their treasure. Like it takes three things to make chiropractic move forward.
Yeah.
It's building a better community, and it's your time, your talent, your treasure. And give an adjustment. I know it's kind of cliche thing to say, but give an adjustment a month to all these organizations.
Right. Yeah. It's not too much. It's not too crazy. And I think, it's so easy to you could work just a few shifts a week and just have a great life as a chiropractor and never have to do anything else, which is kind of, it's kind of a blessing. It sounds kind of nice in my imagination, but really it's just not an option, because there's too many people out there that are suffering that really, really need our help and our message. And we got to get our hands on them, because they have no perception of reality. If they're subluxated, they can't even experience reality, much less make sense of what the heck's going on around them. So we really have a ton of work to do.
So I know we talked a lot about things that aren't so like they're all happening, but we didn't talk about like where you see your involvement with all of that going forward. So you want to be a part of the school, you want to be a part of the adults, you want to be a part of the IFCO. How do you see that helping the future of chiropractic?
Well, there's a lot of overlap in preserving, like you said, the sacred trust. Our lexicon is getting really washed away. And so preserving that is very, very, very important to me. I think our next generation, it's just at such a disadvantage. They're paying more for school and getting less of an education than pretty much ever before. And then, that historical piece, I think I've been a history buff for a while now, especially when it comes to chiropractic. So just making sure we understand our heritage and keep passing that along, so that, because I think a lot of the misunderstanding of why people don't necessarily practice principled chiropractic, they just don't know the giant shoulders we stand on, even like how much we've moved the needles of technology and healthcare. If they dig into it, it's just so rich that you can really hold your head high and be proud. I think a lot of these people that don't understand it have a more of an inferiority complex, where it's like, well, I'm not a real doctor. And it's like, get over it and, look into what chiropractic is, and you're gonna be a lot more excited, I think.
So I wanted to touch on something personally you shared with me in your bio. It's about your thesis.
Oh, yeah.
And measuring the impulse of mental impulse with chiropractic.
Yeah.
What did you find out?
So I probably have more questions than I did going into it. I don't, it's like if you dig deep enough, there's kind of that curve where you think you're getting smarter and then it just drops, right? So I learned a ton about electrodiagnostics. I learned a ton about this machine, and I'm, just as confused as when I started probably, but I could answer questions about it. Yeah. It was the thing BJ developed to try to measure the circuit of mental impulses to and from the brain to the body and back. So he's trying to measure this whole thing in circuit, developed pretty much the same electrodes we're using today back then, and tons of other cool equipment. So yeah, that might be a whole nother podcast, buddy.
Yeah, but I just think it's really interesting because there's so much that goes into the way that we label each other in 2023 as straights or mixers.
Oh, sure.
And I believe that technology is always going to be involved within chiropractic. There's always going to be an x-ray that needs to be shot, or heart rate variability that needs to be tracked, or there's always going to be some type of a diagnostic surface EMG that's going to be utilized.
Mm-hmm.
And it's for reproducibility within the science of the application of chiropractic. So I think it's really cool that you actually created your thesis on attempts of measuring the mental impulse by BJ Palmer. And I think it's a really cool way to go forward and have some closure to our conversation today, because I believe that there will always be a crossroads of where people will look to advance this profession of chiropractic. My only pause to anybody moving forward with chiropractic is do it for the right reasons for chiropractic. And don't sell out principle and don't sell out the profession for your personal gains today, which will prevent future generations from getting chiropractic and your kids' from receiving chiropractic adjustments. So don't sell out on principle. And I think that's the big takeaway today.
I couldn't agree more, man.
So chiropractors, keep doing the right thing. Preserve and protect, and keep on producing great chiropractors that have a fundamental in philosophy and science and art of this beautiful profession. Dr. Skylar, if people wanted to reach out to you or learn more about you or connect with you, where do we send them to?
So I'm barely on Facebook or social media these days, and I'm proud of that. But if you can still find me on Facebook, and I still have Messenger, it's probably the only social media-ish thing left on my phone. So glad to say that. And you can just email me. So my email is Dr. Skylar G, like Skylarge, without the E at the end, drskylarg@gmail.com if you have any questions or want to talk about anything. And then also there's IFCO's website. There's WashingtonChiropracticCollege.com, not .edu until we get accredited. So WashingtonChiropracticCollege.com, and then DeltaSigmaChi.org if you want to learn anything more about the fraternity.
Tons of resources, guys. Reach out to Dr. Skylar, learn about the IFCO, learn about the DELTs, and support this Washington Chiropractic College. If people want to support this college, you send them to WashingtonChiropracticCollege.com.
Yes, please.
Cool. So I just wanted to encourage people to support this movement for boutique style chiropractic colleges. Send your chiropractic students to subluxation based chiropractic colleges that still have chiropractic in the title of their schools, that are doing the right thing for the profession and not watering it down for shareholders or people that have been captured and planted into schools that don't have chiropractic's best interest. So with that, Dr. Skylar, you are episode 567 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Thanks for being our guest today.
Thanks for having me again, brother. Appreciate you so much.
Yeah, there's a lot that we got a chance to touch on. Hopefully we get a chance to do another interview in the future.
I'll be standing by, man.
Great. Well, I always close out by telling everybody you're just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Thank you for everybody that's watched. Thanks for everybody that supports us. And if you guys like this episode, please share it. Really appreciate you, Dr. Skylar. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Right on. Thanks again, James.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.